Okay, I know you're all aching to hear another panel about AI. But we're going to slightly twist this one a little bit. My name is Tommy D. For those that don't know me, I'm a music producer and a songwriter, an artist and a DJ. I'm also been in the crypto space for about 10 years, and I started a company called Token Tracks in 2020, and we build Web3 infrastructure for all the creative industries. So we're like a boutique agency that works with all kinds of different artists, all the way through to brands. Did incredible stuff. You may have seen two of our guys floating around today. We're doing the world's first Bitcoin-registered fragrance in conjunction with a company called Agraria out of San Francisco. They already have an amazing infrastructure that goes through like Bergdorf Goodman, Macy's, whatever. So it's about bringing more newbies into that space. I've been, as a music producer, I've been very much a part of using tech all my life. And I've been asking myself this question a lot recently, which is how do we value music? How do we value art? How do we value creativity going forward? So I reached out to a few friends who I will allow to introduce themselves to come and have that discussion today. So I'll start with this incredible gentleman on my right here. If you were anything close to the incredible experience we all had earlier on, which I'll let him tell you about, it was quite moving actually. I had a little tear almost came to my eye. It was quite beautiful.
Well, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Bryan Brinkman, digital artist in the space, background in animation, and yeah, I haven't been around for 10 years, but I've been around for 5, and it's been a wonderful ride of experimenting with technology and kind of adapting to all the cool things happening in the space.
I've never heard of you before. My name is Trevor Jones, traditional painter, but I've been kind of integrating new tech with my work for over a decade now. Been in the crypto NFT space for quite some time, and also a big fan of all these guys, and very nice to finally meet Kevin after many, many years of talking to each other on Twitter, so I'm very, very happy to be here.
I'm Kevin Abosch, and I've been an artist since 1989 and working with photography and machine learning since 1990.
Wow. I mean, come on, give it up, guys. I think the quality of our panel alone is going to be one of the special ones today. So I find it completely ironic that the main thing that I talk about in music is how many streams I've had, which is based on a technology that has single-handedly destroyed the music industry that I first got into. Not in a good way or a bad way. I think the jury's out on whether it is. But it's ironic that we in the music industry define ourselves by how many streams we've had. And I'm lucky. I've been very lucky. I've had close to 9 billion streams because I've worked with people like Kanye West and Beyonce and Jay-Z and amazing people who are far more talented than me, and they make me look really, really great. But one of the things that I really understand, and I really do get from that, is this element of the way technology now defines everything that we do as creative people. Technology has always been part of the music creative process. I mean, I call a tuba technology, I call a violin technology, I call, just as much as I would call Logic or Pro Tools or Ableton or whatever technologies. They're all part of extending me as a human being. So the panel today, I think this is going to be, is basically the concept, which is, if the things that I've done that took me years and years to learn how to do, if they can be done by pretty much anybody, and therefore of a certain level, how do we define what creativity is? How do we define what value is in creativity? And I think the biggest question is, how do we pay artists and to devote their time and love to the things that they love doing? So the first question I'd like to ask the panel, if anyone can create Picasso-level art with a prompt, what becomes the new standard for artistic value? Let's start with you, Bryan.
The new standard, I think it comes down to the human level. Even when it comes to AI artists, usually when I'm collecting AI art, it's because I believe in the human behind the idea. In the end, it's just a tool like anything else. And so I think most of the time when people are investing in art, they're almost always investing in the artist behind it and a belief of how they will grow and continue to create going forward.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it'll be reputation. Reputation is a currency, for better, for worse. Mr. Beast could put out a new artwork AI drop and it'll be massive. An interesting question you can ask yourself. Let's say hypothetically we could bring Picasso back from the grave, and he's right here with us right now, and he's promoted his new AI prompt generated drop. Everybody in the room gets a airdropped 101 Picasso, but at the same time, the next room over, which is the same size, X-Copy's there. And he's got his brand new AI-generated 101 drop for everybody who's there. Which room is going to get filled up first? And I think probably X-Copy would. It's a crazy answer, but so it's reputation.
It'd be like, who's this Picasso guy?
The title itself is a little, I don't know, is the word triggering, but a little bit triggering to me because it sort of implies that technical replication is the pinnacle of creativity. And you can mimic Picasso, but of course you can't be Picasso. And sure, in an age where perhaps high fidelity replication or substitution for reality is seemingly effortless, perhaps we lean more on the conceptual side. Maybe that's the thing that people value, but I think people will continue to find value, and it'll be clear too. It's not going to be a struggle to find it. I would just say, like, if you have people say, oh, I've looked through 1 million Mid-Journey images and they all suck, and I'm like, really, you never saw one that you like? Well, there was that one. Oh yeah, tell me about it. They find one. So maybe another 10 years, and then they find another one. And what if it turns out that those 2 images are by the same person? Now explain that. So I think there is something a little magical there still that is clear when you come across it.
Do you think that's a technical innovation as opposed to a human innovation, though?
Do I think what is a technical innovation?
The result of that coming through is what makes it appealing to. I suppose the question I'm thinking about is craftsmanship.
Right. Yeah.
Is that concept of what I said at the intro, which is, I'm still learning. I've been a musician for over, coming up to 40 years. I'm still learning. I think this is one of the beautiful things about being a human being is it's the horrible phrase, which is it's never the destination, it's the journey. And part of being a craftsman is that understanding of what you've done, that you've gone, actually, I don't like that. Just as much as I do like that. So I suppose leads on to a next question. I suppose what is the element? What is the craftsmanship level of art? And if we can bypass so much of that with AI, where does that leave craftsmanship as a concept?
As the painter.
I have no opinion. It's a good question. I think, I'm biased because I'm a painter. I'll give you an example. So every year there's a BP Portrait Awards in the UK and travels around. And the majority of the paintings are photorealist paintings. And I will look at all these amazing photorealist paintings. I will be like, that is fucking incredible. The technical proficiency, the skill. But for some reason, none of them ever touch me. And it's like the ones that are maybe more abstract, there's something missing that makes me question that I want to know more. And something that AI will never be able to do is to have that tremble of the hand when you're applying paint. It doesn't understand fear. And as an artist, we are always constantly struggling with insecurity and doubt and ego, battling each other to create something great, but also that fear and the second guessing that causes that human thing in a painting that will never be replicated. And I don't know where AI is going to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and it could be, I'm going to pretend to be afraid and have that tremble of a paintbrush that creates that. And even robots, AI robots in the near future will be able to create a perfectly crafted, Picasso or Caravaggio, understand glazes and layers and drying times and mixing and palettes. But again, you will look at it and it's missing something. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's...
And is that what makes it human?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fear.
Fear.
Fear of failure, fear of being rejected, fear of everything, fear of death, you know, all these things that AI will never understand yet.
And is that, Bryan? Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. Do you think then that, let's go on to what we kind of just touch on, what we feel defines us then as why is it that human beings like other human beings in that respect? Is it because of the, you know, as Trevor said, the fear is part of the journey?
Yeah, well, I feel like most art is about storytelling, whether it's like the Caravaggios. Like, there's a technical aspect to that, but there's a story being told on that canvas as well. And that path from idea to output, that's where the craftsmanship is in the middle. And that's applied for traditional, for digital, and for AI. You have to have that same level of education about where you come from and what you understand and what you're going to apply to that. And then the technical skills to either paint it, code it, digitally paint it, or prompt it. And that's an art of language. And that's something that has to be learned, and that's a technical skill as well. And so in the end, I think as humans, we're always looking at, you know, what's the story being told here? How is it made? To me, on a technical side, whether it's AI or not, there's still that human interaction. I mean, there's going to be the outliers like Botto and all this other automated stuff, but I think most people will still gravitate towards the human voice directing it. We're all creative directors in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I always say to people that, you know, we don't think twice about getting in a car and driving at 100 miles an hour, but we all marvel at someone like Usain Bolt running at 42 miles an hour, even though we don't know all the sports science that's gone on behind it. Everything that that man has had to go through to get him to absolutely the pinnacle of that physical thing. We just love the fact that he can do that, and we all admire it. And I think that's the thing that always gives me hope. If I ever need to remind myself of the beauty of human ingenuity and creativity, I watch or I listen to James Brown. Watch and listen preferably, because James Brown and his band are the quintessential example to me of human beings coming together to create something so fucking incredible that no computer will ever be able to come close to it, because to Trevor's point, there are faults in there. There are faults in what's going on, and if you get faults, you get this 5 sign from James, and that means you've been fined $50 because that's what he would do. If you ever get a chance, go onto YouTube and say James Brown fines $50, and you'll see him. He does this because someone misses a beat or someone does. You know, it's incredible. But it's the kind of thing that people come together. So, I mean, is there anything in craftsmanship that AI will never be able to get?
So I mean, I just want to push back a little bit. I do think that there's a lot of humanity built into these AI models. So I think about this a lot because I do a lot of synthetic photography. Most of the images that go into the models are taken by humans. There's a lot of talk about using synthetic data, or potentially if you wanted to make sure that your models don't get stale and old, so that buildings look the way they do at least last month as opposed to a few years ago, or that they're still there. You know, there's been talk about, well, you could have drones running around photographing a whole city to make sure that that stuff's fresh. And that's true to some extent, but what do you lose? You lose the human gaze, right? So that would be this aspect of it. But for the moment, we have a lot of human gaze built in to the models. And I as someone who's photographed thousands of people, and one of the things I like is to see the humanity in the person, the presence. I have synthetic photographs, portraits of people, that I find that in, to my surprise. Like, truly, it's there. It's not 90% there, not 95% there, it's 100% there.
Yeah.
So that I find quite interesting. And then with respect to the human gaze, in an era where, okay, let's call it everybody can make a Picasso, you still have the human curational aspect, which is also connected to the gaze. And perhaps I like, if I gave a sampling of a million images to you, you know, maybe, no offense, but maybe I like his a little bit more than yours, consistently so. And so that's why I value the work that's coming out of it. It's not true, but I'm just saying.
You really dug yourself a bit of a hole.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, in short, I think there is a lot of humanity baked in to a lot of this AI. So
is it a new type of humanity then?
it's a new reality.
It's a new reality. That's a great way of thinking about it. And do you feel that, like, as a consequence then, which leads us nicely into the next bit, is like, so where are we going then? If, you know, this panel is about how do we value the human element. Is there now new element, new roles coming in for humans? You've mentioned prompting, of course, the new art form.
Okay. Sorry, again, I mean, this is all not triggering, but yes, let's say I'm triggered by everything here. Well, first off, this is all...
It's designed to trigger.
I know, it's good, it's good. This is all assuming that art should be commodified.
Right.
Right? Okay. Which, that to me is not a given. It's nice. I think we're all grateful to be able to support ourselves. But, you know, first for me comes the art, and then the commodification afterwards. So when we talk about value, you know, there's different types of value, cultural value and financial value. Is it going to have an effect? Potentially. Maybe it already has to some extent. But that's, personally, that's not, I don't worry about that. And if it comes to the point where I can't sell my work because maybe there's some consensus about that the thing that they valued doesn't exist anymore, well then I get a different type of job. That hasn't yet been subsumed by AI.
So the whole new job thing, it comes in, I suppose. What do you think, Trevor? Sorry.
I'm on the same kind of track as well. I mean, I'm not worried about it because I don't have any control over it. I just have to adapt, and that's something that we as humans do. We adapt. When the camera was invented in the mid-1800s, and painters had to adapt. It didn't put painters out of business. You know, then we could replicate an image perfectly, you know, and quickly and cheaply, no problem. So there was a paradigm shift. There was a new understanding of what artists could do that a camera couldn't do, and I think we're at that point now. I mean, it's what's happened over the last just 2 years with AI. For the most part, for most of us people who weren't AI experts like that man down there, this is all very, very new for us artists, and we're getting our heads around it. Obviously Kevin's been on the forefront for a long time, so I'm just learning. But I'm, as an artist, I'm excited and scared. But we have to embrace it. It's not like I can change anything. So we're just here talking about it and learning and going like, what the fuck is the future gonna? We're literally going like, what's gonna happen the next 2 years? I don't know. I
was at South by Southwest this week in London, the inaugural South by Southwest, and I heard so many panels of people talking about AI, and I literally thought that every answer that people were giving had been written by AI. It was all so sort of generic and formed. And it kind of reminded me of like we talked about, the humanity. What does it, do you think this is going, well, I want to go back to this craftsmanship concept, because one of the things that I think about the idea of, should we be differentiating between little Johnny in his room prompting and churning out images and music and left, right, center, and many of my friends who've spent 20 years learning to play one instrument really, really well? And how within art, or whether it's music or film, should we even be differentiating that going forward? Because it feels a bit like particularly in the music and in art, we've worked on the assumption of, well, maybe in music, it's been about, more so than art, maybe. In music, it's about how popular something is. The more popular something is, the more value it's given. The more streams it has, the more people come to their gigs, it gives it value. If we're going into a world where there's a huge amount of content being generated by just literally everybody, how do we differentiate between this craftsman concept and...
Well, I think, going to a music sense, like you're talking, I would say it's the difference between a songwriter and a studio musician.
Right.
The studio musicians are going to struggle now because that kind of automation where you're given instructions and doing it will go out the window. But the songwriters are still the creative forces, and they're the brands that people will buy into and support and have fan clubs around them. And I think this, the same goes for art. Coming from the animation industry, I'm seeing that collapse right now, where it's like, there used to be jobs that were like in-betweeners and background colorists, and all those kind of menial, busy work jobs are going to go out the window, and it'll be the storyboard artists, the character designers, the people that are truly important to the creative output of it that will hold the jobs, and everybody else is going to struggle. Art is a weird world where we are kind of our own business, our own brand, and the way I view AI is that it can only replicate what I've already done, and as long as we're alive and continuing to create new things, it can't predict that effectively. It can make guesses, but we can keep making different choices and getting ahead of it.
Yeah, I mean, you keep talking about craft, and I mean, still humans, there's this cult fetishism around how much energy, like time and effort went in, and there's people still tend to reward, someone who takes a ballpoint pen and does a photorealistic drawing. And I don't have that. Like, I mean, I'm impressed by it, but I think that might also be address an issue why sort of craft is one thing and art is another. There's certainly technical proficiency or skill helps as an artist to help you realize whatever, taking what's in your head or your heart and putting it in some form that people can experience it. But you can't compare. You can't compare at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a real value still, for sure, there's a real value in a painter who paints something today that no doubt the young painter has definitely been informed by aesthetic that has evolved out of machine.
Yeah.
And then it does this wonderful loop back into the, I go back to photography now. I spend all my time making these synthetic photographs. All it does is make me want to go back to photography. One, because I like the nostalgia of it all and the tactile thing. But what's interesting is I see the world differently now. After spending all this time with the machine, I see things differently. Forms and compositions that I didn't recognize before now actually seem trite because I've seen them in the synthetic realm. And so it's brought a wonderful new sort of vocabulary to my traditional practice.
Yeah, actually, I'll add to that. I mean, I use AI daily in all parts of my life, and very much in my creative. I'm working towards this since February, working towards an exhibition that will be opening up in October in Edinburgh, Scotland. Anybody's coming, plugging it in there, called Exposed. And it's through and through AI. It's about AI. It's created by AI. There's AI elements in it, the ideas. Everything is infused with everything as artists we're kind of feeling and going through right now. And I like to think it's some of the best work I've ever done because I get so much information. It's incredible, and I love it. That's why I'm so excited. But also on the craft side of things, again, I'm biased. I do think that there will be more value in great paintings. That I don't know what's going to happen in the future with regards to traditional art schools, traditional painting, painter schools. If there will be more or less traditional painters, if the majority of young artists, creators will be working entirely with digital, I don't know, but I do think, I'm hoping that there will be more value in the physical, because again, we are physical beings. As we move into a metaverse reality, and we're just plugged into the matrix, eventually we have to unplug and eat. And we have to see and engage in the physical world. And there's something special about the physicality of something that you can touch and hold. And again, who knows what the future holds with the metaverse, but hopefully not within my lifetime, but who knows, again, a lot can happen in the next 20, 30 years. For all those holding
Decentraland tokens, I think. We're coming to the end of this. I just want to leave us with one question, which is, okay, how do we pay for this? And as a society, how do we pay for people like you guys and everybody else that it creates? Should we be looking, I mean, are we just going to continue with the same model, or should we be looking at radical new things like obviously universal basic income?
First off, I would say, like, anybody who asks me, a young up and coming artist, what's the best advice you can give me? I say marry rich, because artists, if your idea is to be an artist and to make a substantial financial living from that, it's good luck. It doesn't matter if there's AI or not. So why think about that? Just if you're an artist, you're an artist, and you're going to work with the tools that you have, and AI is now one of these tools that you're working with, and we'll figure our way through it.
Yeah. I get asked all the time, what would you do if you couldn't support yourself with your art? And I think the implication is that I couldn't do it. I'd still practice art, maybe not 24/7, but I'd get a job to support my art habit, my internal obligation to create.
Yeah. In terms of, I think people will value human connection more and more as AI gets stronger and stronger. We're going to lose a lot of people to AI, girlfriends, and all sorts of things. And so I think when it comes to art, having that personal connection with collectors and a community, that's where a lot of the value will be held.
Yeah. So building as an artist, I mean, this is we see it, and this is I think one of the reasons why we were all attracted to this space in the first place was this wonderful feeling of community, particularly initially around Bitcoin, and then obviously the different chains that have come through. Okay, I think we've got maybe just a little bit of time for anyone's got a question. I'm supposed to be hosting another panel. It's supposed to start 10 minutes ago, but fuck them, they can wait. They put me onto it. It's a panel about music, ironically enough. Anyone got any questions? Oh yeah, we got a few. This gentleman here. You'll have to shout, I'm afraid.
I need to shout a little bit, right? I'm working with AI since the end of 2021. And my question is that we already mentioned how advanced this technology is evolving through time. And we never know what, like Trevor said, we have no idea what we're going to see. But at the same time, the quantum computing technology is just solving a really important questions as an answer in different universes. And maybe there will be some sort of point that we could reach, and each AI model will become much more advanced. Is it possible that we can see a personality and their own celebrities who create art in AI?
What's the question?
What's the question?
Well,
Will there be AI celebrities? Is that the question?
interesting enough, the panel that was a couple of panels before this, the guy who actually did say there'd be AI artists making art for AI agents.
I mean, there's a huge culture in
I think
Japan
that's true.
that is fandom for like VR tube or whatever it's called, like 3D model characters. So it's not that far-fetched that, if it's not a person behind that live stream, it's an AI behind it.
So do you think these companies will sell those artworks as a celebrity that created this?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think kind of what you're talking about is automated art, right? I think a lot of galleries will embrace the idea of Bado in a way cut out the human artist because they can have full control over an autonomous artist.
I think in the next month or two, we're going to see a proliferation of this, maybe within the next few weeks, for different reasons that have been discussed here.
Gentleman in the hat. Could you shout out, please?
The word inspiration comes from in spirit.
Yeah.
There's to me a deep spiritual element in art and where we derive and channel this stuff. Is there any space that you think that is a part of your inspiration in that, and how AI is potentially going to help that process or actually dampen that process? Like, can you diffuse from that to
At this moment in time, I'm entirely inspired. Entirely. But yeah.
from a spiritual place?
Yes. Yeah.
But that's rarely addressed in this conversation. In the art.
I mean, I think we've probably done this to some extent, whether it's ideation or just trying to get a better sense of helping our thoughts to sort of coalesce. But sometimes just interacting with an LLM, it's in a way, it's like looking at a mirror and it surfaces things about ourselves that maybe weren't so easy to access. And so in a sense, that process itself, I think it can be deeply meaningful and even spiritual.
Yeah, I've used AI both as a a tool within the process of, like, say, texture creation or, concepting. But even at the end of the process, I sometimes use it to, like, help me with the description of the art or help me title the art in a way that, sometimes that's always the hardest part for me, is like making the art's easy, talking about the art's harder. And so sometimes having that AI to talk back and forth about, like, what does this mean to you and me, and helps out a lot.
Okay, one more. Yes.
So I'm going to be a little provocative. So without getting into why I think this will be real, I would like to know, all of you are artists, I would like to know how you guys are preparing yourselves to collect from AI-mined artists, and most of all, for them to collect you. What would you produce that will be appreciated by an AI-mined artist?
I mean, I don't know. I already do collect art by AI artists. My student, I teach at the Angewandte University of Applied Arts in Vienna, and 2 of my students have a project called Flynn. It's an AI artist, and I collect from AI. I don't have any Boto, but this is something I wouldn't hesitate to do. Not just because of its historical significance, but if I respond to the work, it doesn't matter to me. I just think the artwork comes first, whether it's machine or human or however it got there. I first look at the art or experience the art, and I make an assessment about how to collect from then. And I do think also about what might appeal to a computer. I think that's a fun kind of game to play, puzzle. I was happy to talk to you about that outside.
I don't think there will be much that kind of differentiation in the next few years of AI artist and trad artist. I mean, there will of course always be the rebels, who will be like the old school painters, like, we're so cool, we don't use AI. But with a very, very small number of people. I think, every art colleges are notoriously often slow to kind of pick up on these types of things. But I do think that in the near future, every artist will be using AI somehow. So, they won't be differentiating. It's like, okay, I'm a trad artist and I'm an AI artist, where it's just going to... Yeah.
Just another tool.
I don't really think about other artists will find our art because they appreciate art and they understand art. The thing I think about more is how will we be seen by these AI agents? Because what's really going to happen is most of these collectors are going to go on lazy mode and say, hey, go buy me the 10 best artists available. And so what I think about now and what I'm working on is getting my contracts on the blockchain connected to SEO so that when those type of queries happen, it effectively finds my stuff.
Which ass of which AI agent do I have to kiss to get curated into the next show?
Exactly.
Oh, excellent. Well, on that bombshell, as they say, amazing. Guys, give it up, please, for an amazing panel. Thank you, chaps.
We should get a selfie here.
Yeah, let's do it.